Hey everyone, it's Darya Rose, and welcome to another episode of Ask Darya. So today we have a question from, I believe the name is Kate. It's spelled interesting, Kaite. Anyway, cool name. She says, "Hi Darya, brain question. How do you convince yourself in the moment to make a choice you know will make you feel better, but the bad idea seems like a good idea? I struggle with wanting cupcakes slash cookies slash chips when I'm overtired and stressed, finishing writing work at night. There's a store downstairs, so the temptation is really close. There's never been a time it has made me feel great, yet in the moment, it always seems like something worth trying for more energy. How do I stop myself from making a choice I already know the outcome of?" This is such a good question, and I think it's one we can all relate to. We've all been in a moment where we were just like, God, it's been a hard day. I want that burrito so bad. In my case, in grad school, it was always a burrito. But whatever it is for you, whether it's chocolate, whether it's ice cream, whether it's some comfort food that you've relied on a lot in the past, and it pulls you, and you are weak, and you know it. You know, you're stressed, and it's been a really hard day. How do you not give in to that all the time? You know, because there's one part of your brain, probably me, like some version of your brain that's like, Darya says, you know, I shouldn't use restriction, I shouldn't use willpower, but also I should make the healthy choices that make me feel great. So how do you make that decision in the moment when the less ideal choice is so strong? So let me tell you a story about how I was able to do this in one example in my life that was then a lesson that I could use over and over again. So when I was in graduate school, sometimes I would be in lab all day and I would just be exhausted, and all I would have had for lunch was a salad. And then I would go to the gym and, you know, work out, burn all this extra calories. By the time I got home, I would just be starving. I mean, famished. And I knew also, this is when I was launching Summer Tomato, and I knew I was going to go home and work hard. You know, like I was going to stay up till 1, 2 in the morning, like working on my blog and writing new articles. And it was just, you know, the idea of doing that on so little energy was just, I just couldn't even fathom. So oftentimes I would go and get these giant burritos. And these are, I love burritos and I still eat burritos, but these are like massive, like 2,000 plus calorie behemoths. And, you know, sometimes I tell myself, okay, I'll just go get it and I'll just eat half, but that would never work. But one day the line was really long at the burrito place. And I literally did not even have patience for that. And so instead, I went home and I just made some, like, the only thing I had, which was I had like kale and eggs, and maybe I cut up some carrots in there with some garlic or whatever. And I made up this kale and egg dish and ate it. And first of all, it was delicious. Like the garlic was perfect, and the kale and like the eggs were really satisfying, and it was really delicious. And after eating it, and I cooked and ate and cleaned, and I was done in like 30 minutes. I wouldn't have even been out of the burrito line yet. But what I noticed is that 10 minutes after finishing that burrito, or finishing those eggs, I felt amazing. You know, my rational brain came back, my blood sugar went back up, and so I was like, I felt great. I felt energized. I ended up having a great work night because I didn't like numb myself and, you know, wipe out all my mental capacity by eating way too much food. And that was a pivotal realization for me personally, because I realized that if I could just remember that it actually is possible to feel better by doing this other action, no matter how badly my brain thinks I want to go have the burrito, that I actually don't, that it'll actually ruin my night. And that instead I'm going to go home and make these cabbage and eggs. And while that decision feels like it sucks right now, in 30 minutes I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to be so happy I made it. And literally this took just testing for me. I did it that one time, and that was enough to give me strength to do it again. And then once I've done it a few times, then it stops being a question. Like, then I no longer want the burrito because or maybe one day you're extra tired and you go and you do the burrito thing again. And you realize you feel like crap. And you remember, like, oh, right, I actually prefer the way I feel when I eat this other just as delicious meal that's, oh, by the way, also faster and cheaper. and just as delicious for me. You know, I still want burritos sometimes, and I still have burritos sometimes, but I was able to break that habit of having it out of just exhaustion and making a bad decision out of exhaustion. So my challenge for you is to try it once. Come up with a alternative to your cookie, cake, cupcake shop. Something that you like and that's rewarding and gonna get you over that hump, but isn't as indulgent of a decision as, you know, a giant 500 calorie cookie or a giant cupcake, you know, on a weekday, when you really would rather save that indulgence for something that's more worth it and less stress driven and more value driven. So for me, the big thing was just doing it once and proving to myself that I could do it, that this is something I can do. And once you have that in your mind, it's a kernel of hope that you can use the next time that happens. And eventually, if you repeat that enough times, you can actually form the habit to do the right thing. And like I said, you might have slipbacks. You might have those days where you actually, you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna go have the cupcake. And you know, that'll be just a reminder of how it feels, and it'll remind you next time, actually, you really don't want to make that decision. You thought you did, you tested it again, but you really don't. So try it once, make the right decision once. Decide what it's gonna be before you get in the heat of the moment. So if you're gonna make a peanut butter sandwich or whatever it is, it's gonna be a better alternative, and eat, and you know, make sure you have that stuff available, and just tell yourself you only have to do it once. So yes, the first time is gonna take willpower, but it's not like you're giving up cupcakes forever. So just remind yourself of that. Say, just this one time, I'm gonna do this other thing. Cupcakes aren't going anywhere. If you still wanna go get one, you can still go get one. But my guess is, if you have the experience enough times of realizing that you can make a better choice and that you will actually be happier when you do, it gets way easier. So thank you so much for your question. It was a great one, and see you guys next time.